Bernie Sanders is known for a lot of causes, but if there's one above all, it's his belief that every American citizen, no matter their wealth, deserves good health care. That's why he's in Windsor, Ontario today, and we're going to talk a bit about that. Hey guys, how's it going? Thanks for stopping by again. You know, Bernie has been for a long time a champion of Medicare for all, ensuring that every American citizen, no matter what, has access to the health care they need. And that includes medicine. And the reality is that in the United States, medicine is extremely expensive, especially if you don't have insurance, but even for some people, their workplace insurance doesn't cover the full extent of their medical needs, be it in general or be it with pharmaceuticals specifically. And not only that, but there are some essential medicines, some very basic and essential medicines that are exorbitantly priced in the United States. And one of the biggest examples is insulin. Insulin is, of course, something that diabetics need to live, basically. It helps them regulate their blood sugar. It was invented quite a long time ago by scholars here in Canada at the University of Toronto, and it was basically given for free to the University of Toronto because there was a belief that however profitable this medicine could be, it was so essential to the human dignity of millions of people that existed when the medicine was invented, but the hundreds of millions and billions that would come after, that no one should make a profit off insulin. That it should not be a medicine subject to the profit motive. And so, there's that belief in a lot of people. But as we see in the United States, insulin is incredibly expensive. And some people have noted that it's more than 10 times expensive in some parts of the US as it is in Canada. So for a while now, Americans have been making trips to Canada to buy insulin. They're sometimes called insulin caravans or what have you. And Bernie Sanders has taken this cause up, noting that Canadian medicine is quite a bit cheaper than American medicine, and there's no less quality in it. And insulin is a particularly, prominent example of the cost discrepancies combined with the fact that this is a long-running medicine. There's no longer the argument that can be made that this is a revolutionary new drug and the companies have to recoup their profits, if you even believe that excuse. Insulin's been around for a long time and was created specifically to be disconnected from the profit motive because that's what the designers of the medication believed. And that's why they, again, relinquished their ownership of it to a university essentially for nothing. That was the reason. And so we are where we are in part because of naked, blatant corporate greed. 100%. There is no way around it. So Bernie Sanders is joining the caravan. He's done this before, but he's joining the caravan. He'll be in Windsor, Ontario today. For those who don't know the geography, Windsor is basically right across the way from Detroit. So, a lot of Canadians and Americans cross that border every day to shop and, to meet family or what have you. But they're coming over from Detroit, going to Windsor, and they're going to buy insulin, and they're going to get insulin at a much lower price because in Canada, it's much cheaper. So this is great to see. It's great to see Bernie Sanders stand with regular working people who are basically being extorted. They're basically being extorted for profit and having their life held by these companies that are making money off their suffering and on their lack of access to medication. People have died in the United States because of a lack of access to insulin. They have died and suffered. I am not exaggerating that. I'm not making this argument, the slippery slope argument, well, if we don't have this, people will die. No, people have died because they cannot get insulin. And Bernie taking this trip, again, combined with how he stood with striking workers and combined how he stood with undocumented people, show that Bernie's not just running for president. Bernie's building a movement. Bernie's changing the fundamental discourse within American politics. And that's why he's so special. But I just want to say to my American friends that lest you think that the medication system here in Canada is all roses and sunshine, it isn't. Because right now, we're going through something of a similar fight that Bernie Sanders is going through. In the United States, you guys don't have basic Medicare coverage. If you have Medicare for senior citizens, and a lot of people have it through their workplace. But of course, as you might know, in Canada, we have a health card, and that health card allows us to get basic medical services, without having to pay for them. But much of what you need to be healthy and stay healthy and get healthy isn't actually covered in Canada. There's a real lack of access to mental health resources. There's a lack of access to dental care. Dental care is effectively private. Much like you guys, if you get dental through your work, You might get dental coverage. You know, there are certain provisions in some states to give dental coverage to children, for instance. But in Canada, you don't get dental coverage unless you have it through your workplace, or maybe through, you know, if you're a student at a university or college, you might have it provided. Otherwise, you pay for it out of pocket. And a big one of the most prominent ones in Canada right now, is pharmaceutical coverage, which we don't have in this country. And so while some of our drugs are cheaper, like insulin, the reality is that there are still some Canadians that struggle to afford basic medication and have to choose between getting their medication and paying for their rent, or getting their medication and you know, buying their children school supplies, or buying their medication and paying the utility bills. On and on and on. Canadians, real Canadians, have to make that choice every day, every week. Some Canadians cut their pills in half or in thirds, knowing that, like, I only get so much money, I only have so much money, and I need this medicine. I have to take some of it, but I can't take all that I need. And so in recent years, there's been an increased push in Canada for a universal pharmacare program, which would be added to our public system. Now, our Liberal Party, sort of our right-leaning Democrats, if you will, in this country, have maybe mused about an Obamacare-style pharmacare plan. But in Canada, we have a party, the New Democratic Party, that shares much of Bernie's vision. In fact, I'll play you a clip from 1988, where Bernie Sanders was of the belief that the United States could learn a lot from Canada's NDP, and how he felt that the Socialist Party in Vermont could one day become something great like the NDP here in Canada.
The answer is that I strongly believe that we need a third party in the United States of America, perhaps something akin to the New Democratic Party in Canada, a socialist-type party that would involve the unions, involve working people, basically a similar program to the Rainbow Coalition that Jackson is attempting to put together. We have done that in Burlington, Vermont. To some degree, we have, I think, the beginning of that effort in the state of Vermont.
And so that's a great clip for us, you know, democratic socialists here in Canada who really believe that Bernie Sanders is such a champion for basic rights and universal human dignity. And Bernie and the NDP share a lot in common in this regard. Bernie Sanders and the NDP are pushing not just for Medicare for all, not just, you know, covering doctor visits and surgeries and things like that, as important as that is, but wanting to include other things like medicine. And it's Jagmeet Singh and the NDP that in this election are running on a universal health care plan that covers everything. It covers your teeth, it covers your pills, it covers the stuff that Medicare already covers in Canada, it'll cover mental health. It's head-to-toe health care for all Canadians. And you don't pay with your credit card, you pay with your health card. So I want my American friends to know this, that when you see the caravan come to Canada from Detroit to Windsor, and you see that our drug prices are lower, I don't want to deny that that's great, and I don't want to deny the very real benefits we have here in Canada relative to most Americans. Our system's better. But we want to make sure that our allies, our Bernie Sanders friends, our progressive democratic socialist allies to the south, realize that we're in a similar fight. That the left in this country is pushing not only against, you know, conservatives that want to roll back, you know, accesses to services, but we're pushing back against neoliberal centrists that want to stall our progress so that we can't make real change. That they want to provide, quote unquote, choice, you know, so that, you know, the poor people will continue to get access to substandard services, and rich people and well-off people can continue to benefit from an unequal system. Much like Joe Biden, that's what Justin Trudeau wants to do with pharmacare, and it's unacceptable. So this is really important, and this is one of the goals of my channel, channels like David Dole. David and I are both Canadian. We're both on the left here in Canada. We really have a fundamental belief that Canada and the United States, the progressives in those two countries, need to work together, and that there should be a strong alliance between Bernie Sanders and his team and the New Democratic Party. And there has been some. Nikki Ashton, one of Canada's more prominent NDP MPs, has often worked with Bernie Sanders, and she went to campaign for him in the primaries in 2016. There's that connection there, and we need to continue to build that. Because you guys are having a basic fight for what we sort of already have, but in some ways, as Bernie has noted in Canada, he noted when he came here last time, we still have a ways to go here in Canada. So we need your guys' help. When you come to Canada and talk about how our system's better, don't talk about it as perfect, because that only emboldens the neoliberal centrists who get to trick people and say, look how bad America is, we don't have to do anything better here. But what we should be saying is Bernie Sanders and Jagmeet Singh, the Justice Democrats, the left-wing Democrats, the Democratic Socialists of America in the United States, and the New Democratic Party in Canada have a shared vision for this continent where we will build true Medicare for all, for everyone. That's got to be the basic vision. I want to see more alliances between Bernie Sanders and the NDP. I want to see us challenge one another to do better on healthcare. That when you guys win Medicare for all, because you guys are going to do it. I know it. I have a feeling that we're going to do it, and we're going to bring in dental care and pharmaceutical care and mental health care within our general healthcare system, and we're going to push one another to be better. That's the way forward, and we're going to work with one another to make that happen. And this is not just on Medicare. We're going to work with one another to build trade deals that work for working people. We're going to work with one another to have a $15 minimum wage coast to coast in Canada and the United States. We're going to work together to ensure that working class people have the right to form a union without employer interference on both sides of the border. We're going to tax the rich on their capital gains and their wealth and their income and their inheritances on both sides of the border. And it's not going to happen with Justin Trudeau and his Liberal Party. Again, Justin Trudeau and his Liberal Party, they're a lot like Hillary Clinton. Better than Trump? Certainly yes. Better than the alternative, don't get me wrong. But a progressive face that stops meaningful progress when we really need it.